All right, this is Lucy.
I'm Lucy Roberts. I'm Stephanie's niece, and I'd like to first welcome you all and thank you for coming today to celebrate my aunt. I'd like to give my sincerest apologies for not being able to attend this event in person, but I have prepared a reading about my memories with Steph that I would like to share with you now. In his poem Real Estate, Richard Seikin wrote the following of his own death. Quote, "When I die, I will come in fast and low. I will stick the landing. There will be no confusion. The dead will make room for me." These words feel fitting for my aunt, Stephanie Smith, because if I know anything about Stephanie, it's that her incredible tenacity guided her even in her final days. Stephanie had no children of her own, and when my sister and I spent 2 summers with her in DC, the collision of her headstrong personality and our adolescence make up the bulk of my memories with my aunt. Activities on those trips included a tour of her forensics lab, where she even took our fingerprints, having a debate about a New York soda tax she felt particularly passionate about, and learning at least 5 synonyms for the word awesome, which my sister and I used all too frequently for Stephanie's taste. Though we didn't see her often, other trips with Steph included visiting Civil War memorials, river rafting, visiting Hershey Park, and anything else that she felt would be enriching or educational for us girls. She also sent gifts every birthday and holiday, or anytime she traveled abroad on one of her many adventures. She would send physics books and puzzles, knickknacks, and tokens. She sent anything she felt we might appreciate. But my favorite gifts from my aunt were her yearly newsletters. Each year, Steph would send us a roundup of all the places she'd gone and all the things she'd accomplished. Even though she lived 2 states away, these newsletters let us know what was going on in our aunt's life, one that I recall striking me as impressive even from an early age. In the past few years, the newsletters conveyed my aunt's truly special eagerness to learn. She went back to school and earned a master's degree. She built a kayak by hand. She renovated a historic home. Although our visits became less frequent, I knew she was doing especially well for herself. The last time I heard Steph's voice was before I moved to the Czech Republic. I thanked her for setting up a college account for my 18th birthday. We talked about COVID and my move abroad, but it was, like so many last words, an unexceptional conversation. About 4 months later, I sat on the banks of the Rhine River in Germany, talking to my mom on the phone. She told me my aunt only had a couple of months to live. I don't think I cried or felt particularly sad, simply because I didn't believe that that could possibly be true. And although I couldn't process the severity of Steph's illness, I decided to email her on the train ride home. This email, which she responded to almost immediately, despite being bedridden, ended up being our final communication. I told her about how much I appreciated the time we spent together, and that although the timing of illness is always terrible, it broke my heart that I was on the other side of the world instead of home with my family. I sent her a few photos of my travels and my well wishes. She replied that I was doing great things with amazing courage, and that she loves to see photos of who she called fellow adventurers. It was at this moment that I realized I would not get to know my aunt in my adult life, but I think we would have found many similarities in our stubbornness, love of travel, and general curiosity about the world. Stephanie was an incredibly honest woman, so the thought of saying anything but the truth about her feels ill-fitting. Unfortunately, though, the truth is that I didn't know my aunt very well, and the truth is that I sincerely regret that I will not be able to know her in my adult life. Now, I'll never get the chance to do so, at least by talking to her, but I know her memory lives on in those gathered here today, and in the brief time I was lucky enough to know Stephanie Smith, a scientist, an adventurer, and, as Seikin put it, someone who always stuck the landing. Thank you.
So we have another dedication from.
Sorry, it's like a play.
It's okay. It's okay, sweetie. We gotta go to Susan E.
She hasn't been to the call.
Yes, it should go back to my list. It should be Sherry's. Go to up here to the left where it says, scroll down over here to my list. Your video.
This one?
There's, no.
Wouldn't it be in here?
No, that's cool. Well, you could, yeah, Stephanie Celebration of Life.
Sorry again.
There's Susie down there, Stephanie Tribute.
This one?
Okay, so hold on. Stephanie has some friends, the Claremont Chickies. They're here today, and they've known her since they were in high school, and probably a lot earlier than that. It's a long time. And they've spent so much time together and have had a lot of great adventures, and I'm so happy that they could all be here today. So Stephanie's friend Susie Mead was not able to be here, so what she's gonna do is give us Stephanie's name and the attributes with each letter of her name. Wait, hold on one second. Do you guys wanna come in and try your friend? Yeah.
Your seat's here.
There's 2 seats here.
Sure.
Sherry.
Yeah. Come on in.
Hello, everybody.
That's okay. You go ahead.
I'm Susie Mead Melanie, a Claremont, Florida from Stephanie's, and I'd like to share some thoughts that I have written about Stephanie based on the letters. S is her scientific mind. She was impressive over the years, and especially during COVID, with her knowledge and study of events locally and worldwide. T, because she tries to see the entire view of an issue. I enjoyed talking to her about this because most of us, most of the time, have trouble seeing beyond our daily world and lives. E, we're empathetic. Even though my life, and especially my adult life, was different than her life, I married and had children in my young 20s, and she had a more adventurous career path. She always knew how to reach out and connect. I still have a hand-stitched birth announcement she made for my firstborn child. I've kept it all these years. He's now 37. And I still have the most thoughtful, caring note she sent when my children's father passed. She too had attended school in Claremont, Florida with him, and yet she knew the grief and the sadness that they felt at that time in their lives. P is for Pacific Ocean Kid. The stories and snippets she shared about living on Kwajalein in the Marshall Islands always fascinated me, as I've always lived in Florida. I continue to enjoy seeing pictures she sent and hearing of her adventurous travel stories throughout the years. H is for the Highlander softball player she was. This was a sport we played for Claremont High School, where Title IX gave us girls a chance to be Highlander softball players. Even my mom keeps saying that Stephanie is the best shortstop. A, for her artistic abilities. She always amazed me with her combined artistic abilities from her mom and her scientific brain from her dad. N, for neat and organized. I'm sure there are a few places she didn't show this, but it seemed to be the case in her surroundings and with her thought processes. I, for independent. She thought through things in a logical process, but wasn't afraid to travel to new places, consider fresh ideas, and do the right thing. E, everlasting friend. I'm still having conversations with her and appreciate shared experiences like moving to South Florida, actually South Claremont, and Dorky Time Middle School, having Mrs. Moore for a bus driver, Girl Scout camping fun, and John Boat adventures on the Palatka River. All of these put together remind me of Stephanie.
Yeah, so we're not gonna play it yet. So now I have my daughter Olive, and she's going to read a very well-known poem called Do Not Stand at My Grave and Weep. Okay.
not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am in 1,000 winds that blow. I am the softly falling snow. I am the gentle showers of rain. I am the fields of ripening grain. I am in the morning hush. I am in the graceful rush of beautiful birds in circling flight. I am the starshine of the night. I am in the flowers that bloom. I am in a quiet room. I am in the birds that sing. I am in each lovely thing. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I do not die.
Thank you, Olivia. And so I'd like her friend Patricia Armstrong to come up and share a memory from working with her at the United States Postal Inspection Service.
First off, I wanted to offer my condolences to all of Stephanie's family and her friends who are here to celebrate her life. I worked with Stephanie at the inspection service, Postal Inspection Service, and wow, what a woman Stephanie was. I think about all of the contributions she's made, and one thing that was very important to Stephanie is to know that she made a difference, that her work mattered. And Stephanie was so much more than work. And I have some inspection service colleagues here today to also remember her. But anyone who knew her and had the great pleasure of being her friend and a colleague knows that Stephanie was about connections. And when I heard your daughter Lucy speaking about her remembering of her aunt and the email she wrote, one of the conversations I had with Stephanie when she was in the hospital was she wanted to know that she made a difference, and something that meant more to her than everything was the email that her niece sent her. And she read it to me and she forwarded it to me, and she said it was everything to know that she made an impression on her niece's lives. And I feel like I know her family because she talked about you guys all the time, and I just, you know, if you ever received anything in writing from Stephanie, she was an incredible writer. It always made me feel like I was there wherever she was. She was so descriptive, so precise, and that empathy and the feeling and the passion came through in her writing. And there are times that I still feel like I need to pick up the phone and call her and get her opinion about something, or just check on how she's doing, and then I remember that I'm not able to do that right now. But I know that I will see her again, and I'm looking forward to that. I respect her as a scientist, as a colleague, as a woman, as an artist, as a friend. And it's hard to think that I don't get to talk to her every day. I wanted to share something funny because Stephanie had an incredible sense of humor, and she was very witty and quick-witted. But I wanted to share a particular process that she did with the inspection service. So my former boss and now colleague and friend, Dave Bowers, we both worked for Dave at the inspection service. And we were in the security group, which had a lot of innovative things that happened in the security group. And Stephanie was the scientific and technical advisor in that group. A position made especially for her, actually. No one can really fill Stephanie's shoes. And a lot of people contacted our then boss, Dave Bowers, a lot of vendors. They wanted to get in front of him, wanted to sell him something. And Stephanie would evaluate a lot of the products and things that people wanted to sell us. So Dave was just getting barraged with different requests to meet because they wanted to sell the inspection service something, because we're a great customer, actually. And Stephanie was talking to Dave, and he was just telling her his exasperation with this process. She said, "I got it." And she created an obstacle course, and just a litany of things that these people had to do. They had to get through the gatekeeper, who was Stephanie Smith, before they could see our boss. And I'm telling you, we joked that it was 60 pages. I don't think it was 60 pages, but it was at least 60 questions of things they had to answer to prove themselves before they could even get, and they still didn't get to meet with him. They had to meet with her. And you know, Stephanie, that probably was not easy hurdle to get over. But I just think about that and just the things that she has done, the contributions she's made, and the person she was. So another friend who we work with was just saying, you know, Stephanie is everywhere. She touched so much of the inspection service and the postal service that we see her footprint everywhere. And someone was remarking about this patch that she helped design. We see it everywhere, and that's Stephanie. Or I guess I didn't have the pleasure of sitting in this comfy chair, but apparently she has a comfy chair in her office that people would ask to come sit in, like a psychiatrist couch, and have conversations with her. So I don't know, maybe she didn't think I needed it, or maybe she didn't want to talk to me that way. Not sure. But, everybody misses her so much, and I just wanted to say, what a beautiful job you and your family have done on this remembrance service for Stephanie. It's beautiful. And rest in peace, Stephanie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just gonna, I don't think this doesn't feel like a eulogy, but I'm just gonna talk to you about Stephanie. So on September 4th, 2015, my dad passed away. It was on Friday night. And Stephanie called me at home. I live in Atlanta, and she was sobbing and crying. And it was awful because Stephanie's not a big crier. She didn't cry a lot, but when she does, or when she did, it was hard to hear. So she said, you know, I'm just gonna drive through the night and come to Atlanta, and then we'll go down to Dixon's house. And I said, I don't think that's a good idea at all. I said, I think you need to wait till tomorrow and pack up Gowan and come on to come on to Atlanta. Well, the next morning, I got a call from Diane, her next door neighbor, and Stephanie was in the hospital, and she was very, very ill. I wanna circle back to that, but I wanna say that I went ahead and went to Florida by myself. Now, I had some help from my brother and sister-in-law, but for the most part, I really worked on cleaning out my dad's house on my own. And as I was going through his things, I found a lot of really cool stuff, and a lot of things that spoke to me that says, you don't know your dad at all. I would find things like nighttime Epcot passes, and I'm like, I didn't know my dad like that. His letters from his lady friends. I mean, I knew to all the girls we've loved before. But you know, in Dixon's home was 40 years of things that had meaning to him. He wasn't a hoarder, but these were things that were residual in his house. So there were things that I did and did not know about Dixon. Then a couple of months ago, I was cleaning off my fireplace mantle, and I have a big book on the pyramids, which I wasn't ever gonna read because I just wanted it because it belonged to Dixon. And out falls this envelope, and it's this really funny review he had done on some movie called Peter's Friends with Emma Thompson and Kenneth Branagh. And it was just so funny. And the best thing about it was just like a little gift, an unexpected gift. And I got to see another glimpse into Dixon, and it was just really nice to have. So the truth is, there are so many things we'll just never know about our loved ones. You know, a lot of people go to the grave, they're not beholden, we're not to tell us everything about them. They have their own lives. They grow up, they do their own things. So we have to fill in the gaps, and we have to put things together in bits and pieces, and we have to find meaning in our loved one. So I want to tell you what I do know. There were many, many sides to Stephanie. I am very well aware of how spirited Stephanie was. I know all the sides of Stephanie. That I do know. But today, I choose to honor her memory on the brightest side possible. Of course, Stephanie wakes up, and she FaceTimes Sue and I from the ICU. And she starts telling us how to clean out Dixon's house. And I'm like, she's back. So, you know, she just shows how tenacious she was. I know that Stephanie was brilliant, I know you guys probably know that more than me because I found all her books and pieces of paper, and she'd open a notebook and she was jotting down these ideas. And you know, to me, Stephanie's brain was kind of in the stratosphere. I mean, she had a hard time sometimes connecting with people, but Stephanie was very, very smart. And so sometimes it was like a barrier. But she was well-read, she was very witty, she was sarcastic and analytical. And during COVID, even though I've been in OT for 34 years, I got a one-page synopsis on how to enter the grocery store and don and doff. And I'm like, if she cared, I know Steph did it because she loves me, but she was so analytical, she was gonna break it down. Stephanie came from a family of inventors. Maybe you know, maybe you didn't know, that our family, the Smith family, invented the process by which nitrous oxide comes out of the can to make whipped cream propellant. And it was through a man called G. Frederick Smith together with Charles Getz. And so it's kind of neat because I think at some point there's a picture of Stephanie holding up an article or something that highlighted G. Frederick. She was very tenacious and very outspoken. When she was working at one of the labs here in Virginia, she worked for a woman named Amy Wong, and Amy called her truculent. She got in a big fight, and so Stephanie got a big sweatshirt and had truculent on the side, which I had to look up. It means fiercely aggressive. Oh my God, she wore it like, yeah. But Stephanie, you know, she was intolerant to injustice. It just bothered her, the injustice of things. Stephanie had a really hard time, you know, dealing with things that were, you know, didn't jive with her, and she was honest to a fault. She was very generous with her time, especially when it was teaching. So if you came into the lab and you were like a student for a moment or where she would teach you, but you had to be all in. If you weren't there, 100% committed, you didn't want to do the 7-page essay or that kind of stuff, Steph didn't, she wanted to know that you were committed. She could build anything. I would say that she had the Midas touch. I'm not saying that Stephanie was great at everything, but she was great at the things that she wanted to do. Absolutely. Everything. You know, her house over here, this backyard with the ponds and the bubbly creeks and all that stuff and all the things that she worked on, Stephanie just really, she just engaged and did such a great job. She would travel anywhere. She'd go to Honduras and work for Habitat for Humanity. She would do habitat projects here in Virginia. She wanted to offer her time because she was good at it. So regarding the kayak, I want to tell you, the kayak was like a monkey on her back at times. And I read her iPad every night. She'll say, I'm back on the kayak. I'm off the kayak. She got tired of the kayak, but then she never finished the kayak. She never finished it. So Chesapeake Lightcraft finished it. And this is what they said to Stephanie. The kayak is absolutely gorgeous, Stephanie. You did great work. It is clear you're an incredibly strong woman, kind-hearted, and talented people. So the kayak is up in Virginia somewhere, and I don't know where it's going to go. We may auction it off or something. The ASPCA was also really high up on our list, but it was a journey for her, right? You know, we take on these projects for a reason. She gave very creatively, and she would go to any length to get the gift for you. She would climb the highest mountain to get the pearl, to bring it back, to put it in a necklace, to have it set, to write you a poem, to do whatever. Stephanie was an incredible gift giver. So I'm a hand therapist, I treat people's hands, and so Stephanie had this box hammered out of metal, and then she had a skeleton inside with little beads so that when you move the hand around, it could fall. It's just a beautiful creative gift. She wanted you to have something that had tremendous meaning. That's the connection that they had with you, that she had with you. Stephanie gave very generously to her social causes, and she left money for those social causes in her will. She cared greatly about the Cato Institute, the Institute for Justice, Mercatus at George Mason, Habitat, and the ASPCA. Okay, Stephanie's laugh, oh my God. That guttural belly laugh, it was so funny. I just loved when Stephanie would laugh, but she also loved to sing. And she didn't want to sing for you, but she sang all the time. She loved Elton John. When we were in Claremont, she'd just gotten out of high school. We would get in the car and we would listen to Chicago, the one with the chocolate peeled back, you know, all those different Chicagos. anything. She liked to listen to Natalie Merchant, and she sang every word, and she knew the words. She's got a great voice. Stephanie really enjoyed singing. She loved going to Christmas service. She may not have gone to church any time the rest of the year, but she would go to Christmas service and sing the songs. She just loved that. Stephanie had an interesting sense of style. So she went through her Bugs Bunny Warner Brothers phase, where she would wear all these shirts and things with Warner Brothers on it. So she has to give expert testimony, and she goes to give this expert testimony somewhere out of town, and half the luggage gets lost. So Stephanie shows up in dress pants and flip-flops and the Warner Brothers sweatshirt. She apologizes to the judge, and he's like, it's okay. You know, so she comes down, and the defendant, his family said, I think you look great, darling. Oh my gosh. But I loved her curly black hair, her really cool sunglasses, her tapestry blouses and vests, her cowboy boots, her Scottish tartans, her funky silver rings, her Chaco footwear, and all the things that made her the person that she was. I was in her car, I had her car, and you know, I'm driving it, and I see this on the thing, I'm like, oh, secret compartment. And I push it, and there's all her sunglasses. But it was like, it was just so sweet, all of those really cool things that she carried around with her. I thought of some alternate careers for Stephanie. A speechwriter. She had a superb command of the Queen's English. She could draft or edit a letter, just like Patricia was saying, with a clarifying point that would nail the topic. I read her iPad all the time. There's nothing personal on there, but the letters are like amazing. She could have been just a professional letter writer. She could build anything. She built the kayak. She worked on her home. She could have been an artist, but she was an artist. She could throw on the wheel. She could hand build. She did stained glass, clay. She loved the sculpies, making the sculpies. She could have been a gift giver, or she could have helped people get a gift. She could have been a litigator. Have you ever argued with Stephanie? I gave up at 3 years old. It's like, you know, copy editor, but be prepared. She would shred it, but it would be better in the end. Director of Crisis Central, Stephanie was really good at coming in and like taking matters into her own hand and really helping solve the puzzle. She was fantastic at it. And then get gluten-free life coach. When she decided to go gluten-free, it's like the announcement was made to the world. So Stephanie really embraced the gluten-free. So here's the Stephisms that kind of make me laugh, make me smile. Her keys. When we were in North Carolina, and Steph had passed, we kept finding hordes of keys. And I'm like, where did these blasted keys go? So Sue takes it on herself, and she's looking in all these keyholes, and we can't figure out the keys. So I go home, and I'm looking on her iPad, keys purchased at an auction. Carabiners. Tiny carabiners with more carabiners hooked to that. Keys hooked to the carabiners. She liked the little ones. Notebooks, she loved notebooks. I brought a lot of notebooks out here, but she would buy notebooks and she'd do one thing and go to the next. She just loved filling those in. Car stickers, carry on, keep calm and carry on. All that do not wonder are lost or whatever. My favorite is when I drive her car and I look, it says, objects in the mirror are losing. Kickstart supporter. Kickstart is going to miss Stephanie. She bought really cool things. And she was just her thing to do. Sculpey, miniatures, Lego people. I loved it. More black keys. My brother and I, we had tons of black keys to her little, to her car. We couldn't figure it out. And just gadgets that just defy logic. Now, I get that don't have the brain, but I have gadgets that I'm like, they just gadgets that Steph would buy. She just loved it. So those are some funny Stephisms that I wanted to share. But now, what I want to share with you, I want you to have a picture of what happened during Stephanie's final days, so that when we all leave here today, we all have peace in our heart, and so you don't have to fill in the gaps, and you don't have to wonder what happened. I read a quote that said, the problem is that we think we have time. And I get it. I just sent 2 19-year-olds into the world without me ever teaching them how to balance a checkbook. I thought I had time. We always think that we have time. So time escapes all of us, and there's no exception to Stephanie's life. And as I sat with her in her final days, I realized too much time had passed, and now I could not recover and make up for those missed opportunities. Those opportunities were oppressive to me. They sat heavy on my chest. But as I sat with Steph, she just wanted to hold my hand. She didn't think about this. Stephanie was letting go. I said, Stephanie, you're too young to die, and the injustice of you leaving us is too much to bear. And she goes, oh, but Sherry, I've had a good life. I've had a better life than most. And that's true. Only in that, Stephanie embraced life. She traveled everywhere. She did everything. She enjoyed herself. She really went out there and embraced and saw the world, and the world knew she was in it. So she had a life that was full of adventure and experiences. She had a boss that was interested in collaborating with her. So I'm on the phone and telling Stephanie how I'm not enjoying my current job. She goes, I can't really relate because Dave is the best boss I've ever had. And I know he didn't call her truculent. Dave listened to her. And if they connected, and she was able to really thrive her last years because of Dave Bowers. She had friends and family. She had a very silly dog, Gowan, who spends many hours off his nut with Molly, his new owner. And he's being cared for and being taken care of, and it's just wonderful. So Stephanie, in her final days, sat in her bed at Chesapeake Regional, and Molly and I were by her side, and she knew the inevitable was coming, and she spoke to us about why was it best for her to go home to the river. And her river home was 598 White Hat Road, and it was a beautiful historic home that was built in 1802. It wasn't built on the Perquimans, but it was built someplace else, and then they moved it there. That's okay.
It's just, it went away. I'm gonna fix it.
It's okay, sweetie.
Go ahead.
Stephanie lost herself in creating the perfect home, and this was where she wanted to retire. She made gardens and bird sanctuaries. She installed a purple mountain house by herself. She created a work shed. She worked on the floors. She hung cabinetry. Her skill and affection for 598 collided, creating a beautiful home and refuge. But to get to this point, in keeping with who Stephanie was, she had to use logic and reason to guide her decision. She again talked to Molly and I about what she should do. We decided to transport her home, and we put Stephanie's bed in the living room near the fireplace where she could watch the sunset from her beautiful home and with her dog, Gowan. Now, in her final days, Stephanie was surrounded by everyone that held her dear. We weren't all there 100% when Stephanie passed. There was just a few of us, but there were many people that came into her life. Those people were Beth and Gigi. They were her travel partners. Karen Markle also traveled with her. Molly and Lisa have known Stephanie for over 35 years. Her Claremont friends who came and sat with her by the fire and reminisced as well. But of all of us, Molly was with my sister 24/7 for the last 2 months of her life. I was upstairs sleeping, and I heard Molly chittering on the phone, and Steph had called her because she was having a problem at Chesapeake, and Molly was there for her. She was a fierce mama bear. So what a blessing. What a blessing she is anyways to people around her. On December 20th, I received a message from one of Stephanie's friends, Cheryl McLean, one of her oldest friends, and she was just horrified and so sad that Stephanie was passing. And I read the message to Stephanie, and then I felt that Stephanie started to slip away. I felt at that point she was between this world and the next. Stephanie, beloved sister, daughter, friend, chemist, forensic scientist, and world traveler, passed on December 25th. She was at peace. I will miss Stephanie. I miss her now. I will miss calling her and complaining and talking to her. I'll miss her voice. I'll miss her singing. I do, but I will look for her in all the places that Olivia talked about today. And I will wait and watch for those unexpected gifts. Thank you guys for coming. This is a slideshow for my sister Stephanie, and I hope you enjoy.